Hi, I'm Catherine.
And I'm Gail, and welcome to Women Over 70, Aging Reimagined, our award-winning weekly podcast. Visit womenover70.com and learn how you may become engaged with our community through Aging Reimagined Circle. We hope to see you at our next online monthly program.
We want to thank our sponsor, Skintensive. As skin ages, it becomes more fragile and bruises easily, especially on the back of your hands or forearms. I'm loving Skintensive Bruise Cream, developed by Harvard-trained dermatologists specifically for mature skin. It gently moisturizes and helps bruises fade faster. Find it at skintensive.com. For 25% off, use the code capital W, capital O, 70. That stands for Women Over 70. And today we're delighted to be in conversation with Dr. Phyllis Rubin, age 81. Phyllis found her activist voice about 10 years ago while working part-time as a psychologist in private practice. After caregiving for her husband and following his death, Phyllis became more intentional about practicing a Jewish concept, Tikkun Olam, which means repairing the world. She volunteers with groups such as Indivisible, Interfaith Green Network, Go Plastic Free, and End of Life Options Coalition with Compassion and Choices. She is also in Arbor West Neighbors, a grassroots seniors group totally led by volunteers. She's serving her third and last term as president of the board. Phyllis's professional path started 20 years ago as a speech and language pathologist. And in her 40s, Phyllis started her Psy.D, finished it on the installment plan. At age 50, became a licensed psychologist and focused her practice on children with autism and attachment issues. At age 80, she retired from her therapy practice and continues to be engaged in social action and new learning, such as taking legacy writing courses, voice lessons, and has plans to travel to Ireland and Poland. Welcome, Phyllis, to Women Over 70, Aging Reimagined. So tell us let's start with what the Jewish concept means, and why did you wait until your early 70s to practice it intentionally?
So this is Tikkun Olam, and if anyone watched the Mr. Rogers documentary, he talks about it at the end of his documentary as something that's really a value that we should all be practicing. Tikkun Olam is repairing the world. And I think it's based on the idea that God made the world but didn't finish it and left it broken in certain places, unfinished. And we're here to improve it. There's another, while I'm saying this, one can never get to the end of improving it because there's no end to the things one has to improve and make whole. But we also have a dictate in the Jewish religion that you are not required to complete the task, but that doesn't let you off the hook for working on it. So those two things I keep in mind, and because if we give up on something, there's no chance on it ever getting better, and so we may as well work on it to make it better. So you asked, why did I wait till 70? Because I was not strong enough to do it before 70. 70 is when also Trump was about to come into the White House. My husband had died. This was my early 70s. So when he died was when I got active, because he died in the end of 2016. And we know that Trump got into office in 2017. And that's when a friend of mine started an Indivisible group, and I joined right away. We had protests out on the streets, and we wrote postcards, and we called our Congress people, and we did all sorts of things. But before that, I'd grown up sort of under the thumb of my mother and then under the thumb of my husband, pretty much. It took me, I had come out of that, but not enough to leave the house and say, I'm going to protest, do things like that, do real feet on the ground activism. He cared about all these things. We sent money, but he always poo-pooed real, expending your energy to go and do something. He sort of thought, oh, it's not going to make any difference. So I didn't challenge that until he died. And then I went out.
Tell us a bit about some of these causes, these efforts that you're involved in, the Interfaith Green Network, Go Plastic Free, Compassionate Choices. Everywhere I go and beyond, and you're beyond where I go. I see you.
Right. Well, the first thing I did was join the Indivisible group. And yeah, we worked for quite a while. And then I think it was summer of 2019, there's a group called the Interfaith Free Network. I'll tell you about them, but they sponsored a film called Our Plastic Ocean, My Plastic Ocean, something like that. And I took a friend and we watched this film. And after we said, oh my goodness, we have to stop using as much plastic as possible. And they, on a table outside of the film, they had alternatives to plastic. So we immediately said we were going to buy some of them, which we did. And we said we wanted to have that group keep going that went to see the film and hung around afterwards to talk about it. So it became a group. It became Go Plastic Free. It's very local. It's just here in Oak Park River Forest Park. But we have been, I often wind up by default being the head of groups. By default, I wound up being the head of this group too. We started out educating ourselves about alternatives to plastic and what's so bad about it, and learned all the things you can buy to substitute for plastic or even use. So we have handouts, we have examples, we go to farmers markets, we go, if we're invited someplace, to ecological fairs, and we have our box of all these materials that we can lay out on the table so people can see what they can get.
Phyllis, tell us a little bit about what those materials are.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Let me see. Well, first of all, to avoid taking plastic utensils, like if you go to carry out,
Mm-hmm.
you buy a bamboo or a metal set of utensils with a straw, so you don't have to keep getting straws, and you can carry it with you. Of course, tote bags that are not plastic.
Mm-hmm.
What else? I mean, we have a table full of stuff. Also, whether or not the material, the item is plastic, it might be packaged in plastic. Mm-hmm. So there's options to toothpaste. There's something called Bite, and I get something made by Humble. They're little tablets, and you chew them, and it turns into toothpaste. But it comes in either a glass little jar or a compostable, glass is recyclable, or a cardboard little tube. So there's toothpaste, there's dental floss that's either not packaged in plastic, or there's silk dental floss. We have tried out all these things. Silk dental floss breaks easily, so that we don't recommend. There's I think you probably all know about it because it's advertised on TV. There are laundry sheets. Mm-hmm. That disintegrate, that turn into turn into soap in your washing machine, so you're not paying for water. We told them about a local store, and very often good communities or large communities have these kinds of stores that sell things in bulk. So we have Sugar Beet here that sells laundry detergent in bulk, and so I take my container and I fill it up with their laundry detergent. or their dish detergent or whatever it is. Oh, and there's a shampoo bars. There's hair conditioner bars. I also usually tell them about my my inside. I compost with a little thing, it's plastic, but it will last forever because it's hard. It's sits on my on my counter, on my kitchen counter. I also have a hard plastic recycling bin that I keep in my kitchen. It looks fine. It looks nice. This one's got a cover on it. So instead of, and I also don't line since I compost, I don't put anything messy in my garbage pail. So I don't have to line it in plastic and take it. I just take my pail downstairs I'm in a condo, downstairs to my condo recycling bin, and or my trash bin, and I dump it out into the trash and bring the bin back. So I don't use extra plastic.
Great ideas.
And that's just a few.
Yeah. And what does the Interfaith Green Network, what's your mission there?
So it's funny because there are groups upon groups. So the Interfaith Green Network, as you might imagine, is a group made up of representatives of the faith communities in this area that got together. I think it's a group that's at least 10 years old now. And they both share what their congregations are doing in terms of sustainability stuff, and also take back. They've also done things, the Interfaith Green Network. So it's another group that sort of amplifies all the things that the faith communities are doing. And it's based on the fact that we're caring for our world, which is based in most of our faiths teach us to do that. So the Interfaith Green Network has 3 arms, 3 groups. One works on energy, another one works on food for all species, and another works on recycling and composting. Try to get our congregations to do better.
Tell us about Arbor West and what's special about it.
So I call Arbor West a group that is for the people, by the people, and of the people. It's based on the village movement that was started in Boston, where older adults got together and said, what does our community need and how can we provide it? And they created their own village organization, just like Arbor West is a village organization. I think they called it, people wonder why they called it Arbor West. I wasn't there at the beginning, but it's because our communities are Oak Park, River Forest, Forest Park, and we're west of Chicago. So decided it would be called Arbor West Neighbors. And I do remember when the founding people came around to different organizations and did like focus groups and talked about what do we need to age in place, and not just age in place, but vitally age in place. And they determined that we needed communication among each other and among the groups that also support us. And we need advocacy for sure. And we need community and socialization. And so that's what we do. We have meetups once a month. That's a social thing. We just had one yesterday. And we have two advocacy teams now. One more locally focused and the other one a green team. And we also have, and we are working to digitize our communication ability and get things out quicker to people. So
what is it about you? What qualities do you have, Phyllis, that you end up being head of groups?
Darn if I know. I didn't used to be good at it at all. I was the head of a group at my temple when I was young, actually, a young mom, and it was terrible. I was also the head of the Theraplay Institute for a while. The board, it was terrible. And so the first group that asked me to be head of it was Arbor West Neighbors. And I adamantly said I wouldn't do it. I would be terrible. And it turns out I'm not. I'm not a dominating head of anything. I make an agenda. I mean, they made us a good thing, but also I feel like sometimes other heads that I've watched, I feel guide a group because they have some ideas of where it should go. And I don't think I usually don't have ideas of where it should go. But then the board has ideas about where it should go. Mm-hmm. And if you have a good board, it's terrific. It works. So, once in a while I do have an idea, but generally I really don't. It comes from everybody else. And I guess it works. I guess I let them give their ideas.
Yeah. That's great. So you mentioned, which I said in the introduction, that you were a therapist for many, many years, and you focused on theraplay as a method, a technique. Can you tell us about that? And then you said you were also on the board. What is theraplay?
So theraplay was started a long time ago now, in the 70s, I believe, 1970s. Might have even gone back before that, by a woman named Ann Jerdberg and her colleague, who really they both developed it. Phyllis Booth, in Chicago. It started in Chicago. It's based on, if you picture a parent playing with a child, a baby, really a baby, like say 2 and under. That's what their play looks like. It's a play therapy, unlike most other play therapies. Other play therapies often use materials to get the child to enact or show what's going on with them, what their worries are, what they're thinking about. Play therapy is very different. It really focuses on the relationship. It's an attachment-based therapy. That's an important thing to say. It's based on attachment, and attachment comes from parent-child interacting. That's the only way it can happen. And so we determine in theraplay, we determine what's missing in the relationship. Theraplay sort of breaks the needs of children down into 4, which is structure, engagement, nurture, and challenge. And we do an evaluation, and we can see what the child is missing, what the child needs and may not be getting. And so in the play that we do with the child, which again looks like what parents do with children anyway, like peekaboo and pat a cake and picking a child up on your knees, and saying, how high can you jump? Oh, you can jump that high. Oh my goodness, you're so strong. Or letting the child push you over and saying what muscles you have. So these and also we feed, part of it is feeding children. So we help the parent feed the child, because children need structure, engagement, nurture, and challenge. And when we help the parent give the child the experiences in the relationship that they need, it strengthens the relationship. It strengthens the attachment.
It sounds like what we need as adults as well.
Well, so Theraplay has taken this on the road because people have used it with adults. They've used it with couples.
Really?
They use it. There's also an adaptation of Theraplay, which is called Theraplay Groups. And then there's an adaptation of that, which is Sunshine Circles. And people are just, they're finding, you're right, Catherine, they're finding a use for it. It's so many places in schools and in like treatment centers for people with Alzheimer's to get them to connect with each other and interact.
These two.
It's amazing what people have done with this.
Fascinating. Yeah. And so how did you get into that area of practice, Phyllis?
Well, I was a speech and language pathologist, and back in I think this was in the 70s, and let me think. I'm trying to remember now. We moved here from Baltimore, from Washington area, Washington D.C. in the 70s, and we were living. It's a little bit of a convoluted story. We were living near Michael Reese Hospital, which is where the precursor to Theraplay was developing. Simultaneously, there was a Theraplay Institute developing. And my speech and language friends who were working with kids on the spectrum were using Theraplay to work with them because it helps kids relate better. And they did a workshop, and I went to the workshop, and I learned about Theraplay as a speech and language pathologist. This is what got me to go back to school. Because I was using Theraplay as a speech and language pathologist, and the social workers around me were saying, you shouldn't be doing this. So I had to go back to school.
And you got a Psy.D, and what was the installment plan? Because you had a practice and a family and
yes. And I had I didn't have practice. I was working full time as a speech and language pathologist, but I had a family. Yes, I did. And I went back to school very part time. Started at 40, ended at 50. But I ended.
And you went on to work for 30 more years in that field. So
yes, it surprises me. Yeah. That's what happens when you live long.
When I first met you, I remember you saying that you were contemplating retiring, and then you made that decision. And what is that? Now, we know that your life is full, very full, with all of your social action work. But what else? What are your other passions that you are pursuing?
So I used to play the piano. I loved playing the piano. And I was, again, I don't think I've ever done anything to perfection, but except for maybe two things that I cook. So I play the piano, but when I moved to a 2-bedroom condo and felt like I didn't have a place to put a piano, I gave the piano to my daughter, who's also in River Forest. I don't go over there and play it. But what I did was to start, again, when my husband died, I started singing in the choir to one of the congregations that I am a member of. And as I'm singing and I'm just enjoying it, I always sang in a choir. I used to sing in a junior high choir, my high school choir, and a little bit on a college choir, and then a community chorus in Oak Park when they had one. I thought, you know what, as long as I'm singing, maybe I should really take voice lessons and make my voice as good as it could possibly be. And so I said that to somebody, and they said, oh, maybe you want to take with this person. And I thought, oh, maybe I do. So I called her up, and she had a spot. And when it was after COVID, we did it online for a long time. So I take voice lessons, and I really love it. I don't sing every day. Don't tell my voice teacher. I think she knows. But I love the pieces she's giving me. I love them. And I'm going to search around for somebody else who sings, I would love to do duets, actually, because I like to harmonize. So I like that. I also I don't do this enough either, But as part of Arbor West Neighbors, I, again, at the beginning of COVID, right before COVID started, someone offered a legacy writing class, and I took it and started writing these little memoirs and loved that. And have gone on to, again, I don't do it regularly, but I get back to it. I wrote a memoir of I call her my oldest friend. I met her in 6th grade. We stayed friends till she died, which was right before COVID. And I came away from her, and her husband had already died. She didn't have any children. It's a long story, but I came away from her funeral thinking I need to write up her story. So I did. And that was a bigger project, which I had yet to really finish because I want to put pictures into it and poems. She was a poet. So I want to put her poems in there. And then I went from that to write a story about my husband's fraternity brother group that started having reunions when they all turned 50. And they had reunions, I'm going to say up until last year. That's the last one we did. And they are now 86. And it's not just them, but it's the wives too. It's the husbands and the wives. And we are quite a group, we've been to so many places together. So I wrote their story. I'm writing everybody else's story.
And time has a way of going, but before we leave, we really want to ask you, how do you think about your own aging? I mean, here you are doing all of these wonderful things as you age, and how do you think about your own particular aging?
It's interesting that I'm now 81 because I didn't used to. I mean, I thought about it enough that I have my funeral plans. I got my husband to do that. We did that quite a while ago. So that was set. That was not easy for him to agree to do, but we did it. And then in my 70s, I mean, I knew that was set. I wasn't really thinking about it that much, but when I turned 80, man, did that make a difference.
In what way?
Well, realizing that the end is closer than really closer. My mother lived to 93, so it's quite possible I'll go into my 90s, but you don't know. And my body feels different. So tying this into therapy, I always say this, I can still get down on the floor, but getting up is not pretty. So the good news is I can get down on the floor. And I, at 80, I started to, a twinge here, a little tickle here, a pain here, that don't last, but you feel them. And it's like, okay, what the heck is that? The other day I felt something in my finger. It's like, what the heck is that? I think I was at my daughter's outside with a bathing suit on the other day, and I looked down at my knee, and there's this vein sticking up, and I thought, what the heck's that? Oh, occurred to me. I think that's a varicose vein. Oh my God. It's like, oh, geez. So my body is telling me, and I can't always come up with a word, and I can't always come up with a name. I mean, I'm not alone, I know, but still, it's, and I think about how things will end. We don't know. I'd like to be as prepared as possible for that. Aside from that, though, I feel really lucky. My mom, if I'm going to go in her footsteps, she died at 93, and only after having a stroke about 4 months before that. So that's not a long time of being ill and helpless. And I think we would all want to avoid being ill and helpless for a long time. over a long stretch. And I hope that for myself.
Anything else you'd like to say in the last, they say on it, 20 seconds before we have to close?
I'm glad that I can do what I can do. I feel alive doing what I'm doing. Working in the garden at my temple. I just did that this morning. Doing things with Arbor West, writing. I think I'm in all these things because it's really hard for me to say no. But I like it too.
Thank you, Phyllis. Thank you so much. This is wonderful.
You're welcome.
And listeners, make your voice heard as together we change the conversation about women aging. Explore womenover70.com and join us at Aging Reimagined Circle. And if you enjoyed this podcast, we recommend Wendy Battles, host of Reinvention Rebels, a podcast that celebrates bold women 50 to 90 plus who are rewriting the aging narrative and designing lives they want to live. Visit her at home-reinvention rebels. And we hope to see you again next time.